You see, everything begins in the mind long before it becomes visible in the world. So when I say recognize your worth before the world does, I am not asking you to force yourself into confidence, nor to pretend to be something you are not. I am inviting you to return to what has always been true. You were not born to beg for love, approval, or permission to take up space. You were born already whole, already significant, already carrying a depth and brilliance that cannot be measured by how others treat you. But along the way, you learned doubt. You learned to compare. You learned to wait for someone to tell you that you are valuable, and that waiting made you forget that your worth is not a question. It is a fact. Notice something. A queen does not become a queen when the crown touches her head. She is a queen the moment she understands who she is. The crown merely confirms what was already true, and many people walk through life crowned in potential yet unconscious of it. They wait for others to tell them they are good enough, beautiful enough, intelligent enough, deserving enough. They live as though their value must be negotiated. But the truth is far simpler. You are valuable because you exist, not because the world claps for you. When you look in the mirror, you are not just seeing a face. You are witnessing the universe expressing itself in a form that has never existed before and will never exist again. You are not random. You are not an accident. You are a singular, irreplaceable expression of life itself. But if you do not recognize that, the world will not either. The world reflects back what you project. If you believe you are insufficient, life will offer you situations that confirm it. If you believe you are capable, life will open in ways that align with that belief. So the real work is internal, not external. It begins with the stories you tell yourself. Listen to the voice in your mind when you fail, when you fall short, when you are alone. Is it compassionate or is it cruel? A queen does not speak to herself with disdain. She understands that growth is not linear, that mistakes are not proof of unworthiness, and that imperfection is simply part of being human. The way you speak to yourself shapes the way you move in the world. So be gentle, not because you are fragile, but because you are sacred. There is a profound freedom that comes when you no longer need validation. When you stop seeking applause, you stop performing and start living. You stop bending to please others and begin to stand in your authenticity. You realize that there is nothing more powerful than being exactly who you are without apology. And when that realization settles in you, people feel it. Your presence changes. Your energy changes. Your boundaries become clear. The world begins to respond to you differently because you are no longer asking for acceptance. You are expressing your truth. But recognizing your worth does not mean arrogance. It does not mean placing yourself above others. It means understanding that your value is inherent, and therefore you do not need to prove it. You do not need to fight for it. You do not need to compete to earn it. When you are rooted in your own worth, you become calm. You become steady. You stop chasing what was never meant for you. And there is great strength in that stillness. To recognize your worth is to remember that your life is not defined by others' opinions, nor by your past, nor by your pain. It is defined by your awareness of who you are now in this moment. And if you have forgotten your power, it is only because you have spent too much time listening to voices outside of yourself. Turn inward. Sit with yourself. Breathe into your being. The truth of who you are is not loud. It is quiet, steady, like a flame that never goes out. You do not need to create your worth. You simply need to uncover it. So stand in your presence. Stand in your history. Stand in your softness and your strength. Stand in your failures and your triumphs. Stand in your becoming. And let the world adjust to you, not the other way around. Because you are a queen, the world only needs time to realize what you have just remembered. Often we try to shape ourselves around the expectations of others, as though we must become small in order to be accepted. It is a curious thing because the moment we begin to shrink ourselves, we are no longer living our life. We are performing in someone else's script. To lower yourself, to make others comfortable, is to forget the vastness of what you are. You are not here to be a reduced version of your own potential. You are not here to dim your light so that someone who fears their own brightness can feel at ease. Yet this happens so quietly, so subtly that one day you look up and realize you are living a fraction of your capacity. You may have noticed that when you speak with strength, some are intimidated. When you dream boldly, some doubt you. When you carry yourself with dignity, some will call you arrogant. But none of that has anything to do with you. It is simply that your presence reminds others what they have not yet allowed themselves to become. And instead of expanding, they may try to pull you back down to a level that feels familiar to them. Not because they do not care, but because change, even the change of another person, disturbs the known order of their mind. But you were not born to fit into smallness. You were born to grow, to rise, to stand in the fullness of your being. And when you begin to recognize your worth, as we spoke of before, there comes a point where you must decide whether you will continue to diminish yourself for the comfort of others, or whether you will step into the truth of who you are. Even if it unsettles some people along the way, consider a flame. If it tries to shrink itself to avoid being noticed, it ceases to be a flame. Its nature is to shine. In the same way, your nature is to expand, to think, to feel deeply, to create, to express, to love without apologizing for the depth of your heart. And when someone says, "You are too much," what they often mean is, "I am not willing to meet you where you are." There is no need to fold yourself into smaller shapes to fit into places where you were never meant to stay. When you lower yourself, you rob the world of the gift of your presence. You silence your voice when it is meant to speak. You soften your power when it is meant to inspire. When you say yes when you mean no. When you tolerate what drains your spirit. When you remain in situations where your soul is calling you to leave, you are not being kind or humble, you are abandoning yourself. And it is a strange contradiction. We fear that if we step fully into our strength, we will lose love. But the truth is, any love that survives, your rising was real. Anything that falls away was never truly aligned with you to begin with. For love that is genuine does not ask you to shrink. It celebrates your growth, even if your growth requires change. This is why boundaries are not walls. They are doors to self-respect. When you say, "I will not be spoken to in this way," or "I deserve to be valued," or "I choose people who choose me," you are not being harsh. You are honoring the space within you that has always known its own worth. And at first it may feel uncomfortable. There may be fear. There may be doubt. There may be loneliness. But soon that loneliness becomes clarity, and clarity becomes peace. To stop lowering yourself is not to become rigid. It is to become grounded. It is to recognize that your life is not meant to be spent molding yourself into something acceptable. Your life is meant to be lived as the most authentic expression of your soul. And authenticity requires courage. The courage to disappoint others. The courage to be misunderstood. The courage to walk away when your spirit whispers, "This is not where you belong." The moment you stop lowering yourself is the moment your life begins to align. Opportunities shift. Relationships recalibrate. The world rearranges itself around your new sense of self. You do not need to fight or demand. You simply need to stand in your truth, and what is meant for you will arrive in its own time, drawn to the frequency you carry. So let yourself expand. Let yourself be bold. Let yourself be seen. Let yourself outgrow the rooms that once felt safe but now feel small. Let yourself step into the world as who you truly are, not as who you were taught to be. Because you are a queen, and a queen does not shrink. She rises. There comes a moment when you begin to understand that not everyone who has access to you should have access to your inner world. Your time, your energy, your emotional presence, these are not infinite resources. They are treasures, subtle yet powerful. And the more you awaken to your own worth, the more you start to see that one of the greatest responsibilities you have in this life is to protect your energy. You see, we often imagine that love means giving endlessly, pouring ourselves into others without boundaries. But there is a difference between love and self-neglect. When you give and give until you are emptied, you are not practicing compassion. You are abandoning yourself. And the world will rarely tell you to rest, to step back, to choose yourself. The world often praises those who sacrifice everything, even their own well-being. But a queen does not rule by draining her spirit. She rules by maintaining her center. Your energy is the foundation of your clarity. your creativity, your emotional stability, your ability to make decisions. When your energy is scattered, everything feels heavier. Your thoughts, your relationships, your goals. When your energy is calm and preserved, you can move with a kind of quiet power. You become aware. You become intentional. So the question is, who are you allowing into your life? Not everyone deserves to sit close to your spirit. Not everyone knows how to hold your heart gently. Some will love you only when you are convenient. Some will take not out of malice, but out of habit. Some will misunderstand your softness and attempt to turn it into a weakness. And yet you do not need to resent them. You simply need to understand that you are responsible for choosing who gets to stay. Observe how you feel around people. Do you feel expanded or diminished? Seen or dismissed? Nourished or drained? Your body always tells the truth long before your mind catches up. There are people who can fill a room with warmth simply by being present. And there are people who can empty your spirit without ever raising their voice. Know the difference. Protecting your energy is not about isolation. It is about discernment. It is about recognizing that your peace is a sanctuary, not a public marketplace. And once you begin to choose peace, to truly choose it, something begins to change. You stop responding to every argument. You stop defending your character to those who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop trying to fix those who have no desire to heal. You release the need to save everyone, and instead you learn to save yourself. There is a gentle strength in saying no, a quiet elegance in stepping away. Not every battle requires your presence. Not every invitation needs your acceptance. Sometimes the most powerful act is withdrawing your attention from what drains you and redirecting it to what nourishes you. Protecting your energy also means protecting your dreams. There are people who cannot hold your vision because they have not yet awakened to their own possibilities. If you share your deepest desires with those who cannot see beyond their own limitations, they will unconsciously try to place those limitations on you. But when you guard your dreams until they are strong enough to stand, they grow. And once they blossom, the world must acknowledge them. There is an inner circle that forms naturally when you honor your worth. You begin to attract people who speak truth, who encourage growth, who respect boundaries, who celebrate your rise rather than fear it. And sometimes to make space for these people, you must let go of others. This letting go is not rejection. It is alignment. It is choosing what resonates with the deepest truth of who you are becoming. Your energy is your kingdom. Let no one walk through it with heavy, careless footsteps. Let no one dim the light you have fought to reignite. And most importantly, do not dim it yourself. You do not need to justify your boundaries. You do not need to explain your silence. You do not need to apologize for choosing your peace because you are a queen, and a queen protects what is sacred, starting with herself. There are moments in life when everything feels heavy, when the world seems to press inward and the path ahead becomes unclear. In these moments, you may begin to believe that your struggle is evidence of weakness, that the weight you carry is a sign that you are somehow failing. But consider something. All transformation requires friction. A seed must split apart to become a tree. A caterpillar must dissolve into something unrecognizable before it can take flight. And in the same way, every chapter of your becoming will require you to pass through a threshold that feels uncomfortable, uncertain, and sometimes unbearably painful. Pain is not the enemy. It is the teacher. It is the sculptor. It is the fire that reveals what is real and burns away what is not. Yet many of us fear pain so deeply that we run from it, suppress it, distract ourselves from it, or pretend it does not exist. But running from pain only deepens it. When you allow yourself to feel what you fear, you begin to see that the pain is simply a message something in your life. Your identity or your understanding is ready to evolve. To stand tall through pain is not to deny your feelings. It is to recognize that your feelings are part of your path, not obstacles to it. A queen is not crowned because she has lived an easy life. She is crowned because she has endured what others could not and still chosen to rise. Your wounds are not proof of brokenness. They are proof of your resilience. They are the marks of a soul that has lived deeply, loved deeply, and dared to hope in a world that sometimes tells you to be small. When you are in the midst of pain, it is easy to forget your strength. The mind begins to whisper that things will never improve, that the hurt will last forever. But everything in this world is movement. Night does not remain. Winter does not remain. Tides rise and fall. Seasons turn and hearts heal. The pain you feel today is not permanent. It is a passage. And if you learn to walk through it with awareness rather than resistance, it can transform you in ways peace never could. There is a particular kind of wisdom that only suffering teaches. The wisdom of knowing what matters. The wisdom of recognizing what is real. The wisdom of seeing what is false fall away. When you lose something you thought you could not live without, you discover the depth of your own endurance. When you are betrayed, you learn to distinguish between those who stand beside you and those who only stand near you. When your heart breaks, it opens in a way it could not have opened otherwise. Pain expands your capacity to feel joy, compassion, and love. It widens the doorway to your own humanity. So instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Consider asking, what is this shaping me into? Every challenge is carving something into your character. Strength is not born in comfort. Courage is not developed in certainty. Grace does not grow in the absence of difficulty. These qualities arise when you are pressed, when you are stretched, when you are required to endure more than you thought you could. And there is something else. When you allow yourself to feel pain without collapsing into it, you discover that there is a stillness beneath your suffering, a quiet awareness that cannot be touched by circumstances. That awareness is your essence. It is your true self. It is the part of you that remains unchanged, no matter how chaotic the world becomes. When you connect with that stillness, you realize that you are larger than your pain. You are the space in which the pain arises. And just as clouds move across the sky, emotions move through you. They are not you. They are experiences passing through your consciousness. To stand tall through pain is to recognize that your story is not ending. It is unfolding. The storm is not here to destroy you. It is here to wash away what you have outgrown. You are being shaped, refined, prepared for the next chapter of your life. And when it arrives, you will look back and realize that the pain was your initiation. So breathe, be gentle with yourself. Allow the heart to ache and allow it to mend. Trust that you do not suffer without purpose. Trust that the struggle is part of your becoming. Trust that you are not alone in your journey, even when the path feels quiet. Because you are a queen and every queen is forged in fire. There is a quiet truth that many people overlook. The words you speak are not merely sounds, not just expressions of thoughts. They are instruments shaping the structure of your life, the atmosphere of your mind, and the direction of your future. The voice inside you and the voice that leaves your lips both carry immense creative power. When you speak, you are not only describing your world, you are influencing it, reinforcing it, building it. So when I say speak with intent, I am not encouraging you to become loud or forceful or dramatic. I am asking you to become aware to notice what you are saying to yourself in the privacy of your own thoughts. To notice the phrases you repeat when you are frustrated, when you are tired, when you feel uncertain. These small, seemingly unconscious patterns create the emotional tone of your entire experience. If you tell yourself, I am tired of life, life will feel heavier. If you say, nothing works out for me, your mind will search for evidence to support that statement. If you tell yourself, I am unlovable, you will ignore every moment of love that is already present because you have convinced yourself that it does not count. The mind is loyal to the story you feed it. But imagine instead that each word becomes a seed and those seeds grow. If you plant doubt, fear grows. If you plant confidence, strength grows. If you plant gratitude, peace grows. This is not magic, it is awareness. It is the understanding that your inner dialogue becomes the lens through which you view the world. Speaking with intent begins inwardly, not with affirmations spoken loudly to impress yourself, but with an honesty that is soft, steady, and genuine. Perhaps the words sound like, I am learning, I am becoming, I am worthy of love, I deserve peace. These are not declarations of who you must be in this moment. They are invitations to become who you are capable of being. And this extends outwardly as well. Your conversations with others reflect your inner environment. When your heart is heavy, your words tend to carry that weight. When your spirit is balanced, your words become gentle, thoughtful, deliberate. Notice how often people speak just to fill silence, to avoid feeling, to gain attention, or to defend themselves. But when you speak with intent, silence is not your enemy. Silence becomes your companion. You speak only when your words are necessary, when they clarify, guide, soothe, or affirm. There is elegance in restraint, power in presence, strength in stillness. To speak with intent also means to stop using your words as weapons against yourself. You do not need to criticize your body to motivate change. You do not need to shame your past to learn from it. You do not need to call yourself names to prove that you are self-aware. Self-awareness does not require self-punishment. You can grow with kindness. There will be moments where you feel like your voice does not matter. But understand that every word you speak, every thought you think impacts the way you move in the world. If you repeat stories of failure, fear becomes your reality. If you repeat stories of growth, resilience becomes your identity. And your identity is not made in a single moment. It is formed in the ongoing whisper of your daily thought patterns. This is why speaking with intent is a form of self-respect. It is choosing to treat your inner world with care. It is acknowledging that your mind is listening to you, and it is always listening. Speak gently to yourself when you are in pain. Speak lovingly to yourself when you are tired. Speak wisely to yourself when you are afraid. Because in those moments, the words you choose determine whether you crumble or rise. And as you learn to guide your voice, something beautiful happens. You no longer need to shout to be heard. People feel your presence before you speak. They feel the steadiness, the clarity, the quiet confidence in your tone. You do not need to convince anyone of your worth. Your voice carries the truth of it. Your speech becomes less about proving and more about understanding, less about impressing and more about expressing, less about reacting and more about responding with awareness. So speak not from fear, but from truth. Speak not from insecurity, but from presence. Speak not to be validated, but to honor your inner being. Because you are a queen, and a queen's words carry power, there is a tendency in life to wait for the right moment, the right approval, the right feeling, the right sign. Many people live their entire lives waiting as if some unseen authority will one day tap them on the shoulder and say, now you may begin. But the truth is far simpler. There is no permission to wait for. There is no moment more real than this one. The life you want will not announce itself. You must build it brick by brick, day by day, choice by choice. When we speak of building your kingdom, it is not about grand displays or sudden transformations. It is about the quiet, consistent act of shaping the direction of your own life. A queen does not wake up one day in her palace by accident. She creates the foundation long before the palace is visible. She begins with her inner structure, her discipline, her wisdom, her patience. These are the first stones to build your kingdom, means to take responsibility for your becoming. Not responsibility in the sense of moral duty or pressure, but in the sense of recognition, a deep recognition that your life is yours. Your happiness is yours, your growth is yours. And while others may influence, support, or challenge you along the way, no one can build your life for you. No one can walk your path. And no one can save you from the work of unfolding into who you are meant to be. There is something powerful that happens when you decide to stop waiting, when you stop looking for someone to rescue you, when you stop assuming that circumstances must change before you can change. Suddenly you begin to see possibility where before there was only limitation. You begin to see opportunity where you once saw obstacles. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. But this path requires courage. Courage to face your own patterns. Courage to step away from the familiar. Courage to pursue what feels meaningful, even when the outcome is uncertain. There will be moments where doubt arises, where fear whispers that it is easier to remain as you are, and perhaps it is easier. But ease is not the same as fulfillment. Comfort is not the same as purpose. A life built on avoiding difficulty is a life spent hiding from your own potential. To build your kingdom is to build your skills. To refine your mind, nurture your curiosity, develop your abilities. It is to invest in your own growth rather than in distractions. It is to understand that every small step compounds, that every choice shapes the direction of your story. Even 10 minutes of daily effort accumulates into transformation. Consistency is far more powerful than intensity. And yes, building your kingdom also means tending to your material world, your finances, your work, your independence, not in a way that is fueled by fear or greed, but in a way that supports your peace. When you are independent, you move freely. When you are capable, you choose rather than settle. When you cultivate stability, you allow your heart to open without fear of collapse. But do not misunderstand. Your kingdom is not something outside of you. It is not merely a house, a career, or a position. It is the environment you create within yourself. Your inner structure, your sense of direction, your emotional clarity, your spiritual depth. These are the pillars. And the external success is simply the echo of what is built within. You are not racing anyone. You are not behind. You are not late. The journey is not linear, and it is not meant to be quick. What matters is that you move, that you choose yourself in each moment when life tries to pull you back into old patterns of doubt or hesitation.